welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Matt Mangam, good old friend from WRSU. Known each other now a couple of years, but yeah, it's nice to catch up with you, Matt. Obviously we're just talking about it before we turn on the show, but I mean, how's everything been going for you back there, and just in general with life and over the summer, and with NYCFC, I heard you've been like doing some stuff with that. So how's things been going lately?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's been good. Just kind of watching NYCFC games, writing articles about them, working, watching the Euros and Copa America, of course. Now that just wrapped up, kind of watching a decent amount of baseball, not as much as I would want to because soccer's kind of overtook it this summer. Like
Yeah.
all these games going on, I just had to watch soccer a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, but now that soccer's done for the summer, of course, there's the Olympics coming up soon, which would be fun to watch. But
Right.
yeah, just kind of watching a lot of sports, which not bad at all.
Yeah. Sports is, it's like my life, like all of ours, I'm sure. But like, yeah, I mean, that's exactly, why I do this podcast because, just to catch up on the world of sports. But yeah, for me, I mean, also a lot of sports. It's been big lately. Cricket's like had a big, upturn with the World Cup.
Yeah.
We talked about that a lot on this podcast actually. I was really enjoying watching all those, like a lot of those games. And then soccer has been more of the thing, and of course like NBA, Stanley Cup, like we ran through that. Home run derbies going on, but yeah, I mean the Copa America, like the Euros, like that was really fun to really watch. I didn't really watch too much of like either tournament until like the finals or the playoffs at least. The
Knockout stages. Yeah.
knockout stage, but yeah, I mean, definitely want to talk about that. I mean, the Euro final, that was a very exciting one. Spain versus England, feels like both of those teams were like kind of, the best in the tournament. They beat like a lot of tough teams like, Germany and like France. Like, well, Spain really like, completely like got through all the way.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Dominant runs. I don't know. What are your takeaways? Like, I guess before we get to the final itself, like, what are your takeaways from like the overall like tournament?
For the Euros,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great tournament. I did have Spain going to the final. England, I was a little bit hesitant on. I thought it'd be Germany, but
Right.
Spain actually beat Germany. Spain
Yeah.
had a remarkable run, really
Right.
good run. They had the best run of any team. Of course, England made it to the finals too, but Spain did much better. Um, yeah, it was a really good tournament. Loved watching all the group stage games and have, like, just so many good matches.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams that were, actually doing really good in the group stages got knocked out early in the knockout rounds, like Turkey, Austria. Those were two teams that I thought were actually going to make a decent deep run, but didn't. You had that big game, Georgia beating Portugal 2-0. Didn't
Yeah.
matter. Portugal were already through, but still a good
Right.
win. So many good goals. Bellingham's goal against Slovakia to tie the game right before full time. Hit a bicycle kick goal. Amazing goal. So just exactly what you want from that type of tournament. Just craziness, crazy games, upsets, entertaining matches. And yeah, just good football, soccer overall. Yeah, it was a great tournament. And it's always good. But yeah, Spain, great team. Lamine Yamal, now 17 years
Oh
old.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
17
What a stud.
yesterday or today, whatever it was. But he was 16 for pretty much all the tournament.
Right.
Just the world knew he was a talented player, but this tournament he really, made a name for himself even bigger, and he had a phenomenal tournament. He could have scored one or two more goals in the final if it wasn't for Jordan Pickford, but I believe he had an assist on one of the goals. Yeah, a great tournament for him. Great tournament for Spain. England unlucky to lose back-to-back
I
finals.
know. Yeah.
It
Back
sucks.
to back.
Harry Kane's curse continues without a trophy season, career without a trophy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that team is England's still a talented team. They'll be back at the World Cup. Do I think they're going to win the
Right.
World Cup? No, but they definitely can be a top four team again at the next World Cup. They have a lot of young players in their team. They have a really talented roster still, so they have a bright future ahead of them still.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, just seeing the final, I mean, it was exciting. Yeah, both teams definitely had their moments. But yeah, like you said, like Yamal, the 17-year-old now, like that was just insane. And then yeah, Spain got the first goal early in second half, Nico Williams, and then Cole Palmer with a nice equalizer. But then
Hmm.
right, and then McCollum, or I can't even pronounce it.
Yeah, yeah,
In the
yeah,
86, the winner.
yeah.
Off the deflection. That was like that was pretty tough,
Yeah,
honestly.
that
Like,
goal came against the run out of play. I did not see that goal coming. It came out of nowhere. That was
right?
offsides initially.
Yeah,
They
they
checked it.
overturned
It
it,
was
right?
on. It was onside. Very very close call though. Very very close call.
Yeah.
England is a team. If we went to extra time and they went to penalties, England's a team that is not good at penalties shootouts. Of
Mm,
course, I know they have won penalty shootouts this tournament, but in the past, they've lost penalty shootouts. For example, the last Euro final against Italy, they lost on penalties. They had missed 3 penalties in a row. So England needed. Of course, they lost, but if England wanted to win, they had to do it in regulation play. They cannot do it on penalty shootout because Spain would just win that. Spain would win on penalties.
right.
But nonetheless, Spain scored the late winner. It didn't go to extra time, nor penalties. And yeah, Spain, I think it's their one, two, three. It's their fourth. Wait, one, two, three. It's their fourth championship, I believe, because I'm looking right now. They went back to back in 2008, 2012. So yeah,
Mm,
they won this year, and they also won in 1964 in their own backyard. So yeah, this is their fourth European title. Yeah, they're another team that's really really good. Really really young too. Of course, because they have Yamal. They have so much talent. Pedri, Gavi, Nico Williams. Their offense is good. But yeah, I don't even know what I started off talking about here. But yeah, just great final, amazing final.
right. Yeah, I'll say so too. Like, it was very exciting. All three goals in the second half, and like the last one definitely came kind of out of nowhere to get the winner. But yeah, yeah, that one was pretty cool. He kind of like slid into the goal, like, right at the end, and that was like
Mm-hmm.
pretty exciting. But yeah, no, it was just like a really good tournament for sure. And I think, yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. But it's cool when it's like running with like the Copa America also at the same time. Like, I feel like both
Oh
tournaments
yeah.
are good, and they're both like a little different. Like, I've seen the memes about like the Euros being like very stylistic, and like the Copa America, it's like everyone's like beating each other up. I thought that was, I mean, it's kind of what happened, like, in a way, I guess. But
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
just the style of play is different in both continents. Like European football is a lot more like passing possession type of style played. Of course, and in South America they still pass like that. Like, of course, Messi is one of the best passers,
right,
but it's more skill. And like in South America, it's more skill based, more movement based. So there's going to be more challenges, more hard tackles,
right,
more aggression. So there's a different style of play that like I said, that you see from South Americans compared to Europeans. Europeans are much more. I don't want to. How do I say? It's more patient, I guess you could say. More like much more patient, more
yeah,
precise,
yeah, more
more
like planning and
cleaner.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And meanwhile, South America is more like pickup, makeshift, you could say at times, but still a good style. Of course, teams like Barcelona kind of play like that, like the tiki taka type of play. So does City, who actually is a European team. So is Barca, but
Right,
teams European teams get players from South America and they kind
true,
of integrate that into their play style, and it's kind of how the team plays. It's just how it is. So tournaments do play differently. Like Mexico plays differently compared to like Croatia or something like that. Like compare those two teams, but the play styles kind of they match up nicely. You could say at times. So that's why like the game Colombia versus Uruguay Copa America, that was a really physical game. I think it had like 10 yellow cards. It was a red
yeah,
card, countless
yeah,
fouls. The semifinal that was a great game too. So of course, you can have that in English and European matches too, but it's just much more common in South American matches, especially in South America, Mexico, stuff like that. Not really MLS, but like from Brazilians, Argentines, Colombians, stuff like that. Those type of players, Mexicans, those type of players.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, the stylistic contrast is definitely very interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, Copa America, being held in the U.S. That kind of came with its issues, like we saw at the final yesterday. Like, the
Oh my
ticket
gosh,
situation
that
was
was a
nuts.
disaster to look at on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing everything, and then the game got delayed till 9:15. I was like, almost like half asleep, but the goal was exciting. It's just like, yeah, I guess before I get into that one, it's just, I guess it's just a little disappointing. Like, the U.S. kind of like flamed out, and I guess Mexico kind of did, but they did fire like Greg Berhalter, which I know like makes a lot of U.S. fans happy, but yeah, it was just like a tough one, but obviously losing to Panama like didn't really break through, and then Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. It's just like I feel like they got pretty far in the World Cup, like for their standards, like to the round of 16, and then like after that, I feel like they kind of regressed like even farther. And I don't know. I don't really know why that is, to be honest, but it's kind of like unfortunate, I guess. But Canada had a really
Yeah,
big breakthrough, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on like why the U.S. like kind of like regressed a little bit, and like why the U.S. and Mexico are kind of like struggling, and like Canada did really well. They made it to the semifinals because they had a
I
really
think
impressive run.
I think one thing about Mexico is their team is much older. Their golden talent, their golden generation is kind of done now. For the USA, they have that generation right now, so it's really frustrating to see that team just
Yeah,
bow out like that.
exactly.
And
They got
mind
yeah.
you, they had an easy group. Of course, Uruguay
I
is a good team,
know. Yeah,
but
really good
Panama
team
and
in there.
Bolivia,
Yeah.
they beat Bolivia 2-0. Not the most
Right.
convincing win, but it's still a win.
Yeah.
Then they lose to Panama 2-1. Now, of course, there was a red card to Tim Weah really, really early in the first half. So they played over 70 minutes without, with
That's
10 men.
that's
So
hard
I
to
give you
do.
that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this is Panama. Now, I'm not going to discredit Panama. Of course, they, made it. They got to the knockout stages. They did lose to Colombia 5-0, which kind of just shows the gap between Colombia and the United States. If Colombia could destroy them 5-0, and the USA can lose the game to them. A big gap still. But it just sucks because the team, of course, didn't play that good. It's also on Berhalter, though, just because he's not been a good coach. He's been really inconsistent. I don't want to discredit the World Cup run, but if you look at the games, Wales, England, Iran. Okay,
Mhm.
so you tie with Wales 1-1. You
Right.
tie with England 0-0. Then you beat Iran 1-0. But the thing about that game is just that again, now they barely got past Iran. It's really
Right.
concerning. And then they lose to Netherlands 3-1. No
Yeah.
shame in that. Netherlands is a good team. They got to semifinals
Mhm.
of the Euros this year, you saw. So they are a good
Mhm.
team. But the USA should have comfortably gotten out of their group still, regardless. They should have beat Wales. They should have beat
Yeah.
Iran more convincingly. The England point, again, 0-0 England. That's a good team. That's a good point. But
Right.
they should have
Yeah.
won the group. Actually, if they, I don't know, it would have been too close with England because they would
Ooh.
have had 2 wins and they would have tied with England. But England
Go.
probably could beat Wales and Iran too. So it will go down to goal difference or something like that. But they should have
Yeah.
had they should have done better in the group. So I think the team just still needs they just need more work, it needs more time. It sucks to say. The team they're not so these players, the way they play in Europe, they're not playing as good as they are in for their club as they're playing for the national team. Of course, Christian Pulisic, he's putting the team on his back, all the
Yeah.
time. But
Captain
players like
America.
Weston
Yeah.
McKennie, Tyler Adams, even
Right.
Gio Reyna at times just aren't up to par. Belugan's been good. Tim Weah, red card. It sucks. It was really frustrating. Now that was really bad from him. Poor. He apologized after Instagram after the game. He took full responsibility, mature, apology. Okay, he apologized. He knows he
Right.
messed up. He's sad about
Exactly.
it.
It's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I get that, but at the end of the day, Berhalter, like this goes down to Berhalter. It's gonna be on him because he's the coach. It's gonna go down to him. So he got sacked. Completely fair. Completely deserved. Now the USA has 2 years before they host the World Cup in their country.
Right.
You need to get a good coach, and figure out your team, figure out your problem. Because in the World Cup in 2026, the USA, my opinion, has to get past the round of 16. You have to get at least to the quarterfinals. So win one more game. The Netherlands game, that's round 16, have to get past that. Not saying it will be Netherlands again. It could be Argentina they could play in round 16. They lose. But if you get teams like Iran and Wales in your path, you have to win those games. So they have to do better at the next tournament. Not saying overall that the World Cup in Qatar they did bad. I'm happy they got out of the group and they played decent against Netherlands, so I'm not complaining that much. But it just has to be a little bit more confident and a little more dominant, I'd say, because the team is ranked number 11 by FIFA, which I think that's kind of BS because it's based off rankings and wins and everything and places in tournament placements, which you can't compare CONCACAF tournaments to UEFA tournaments because North American tournaments and European tournaments are much different. Of course, European
Yeah.
tournaments are much more advanced. But yeah, the team just needs work because these players are good. I know they have the
I
potential.
know.
They're definitely
Yeah.
talented, but the thing is they can beat Mexico 5 times in a row.
I know. That's so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
In a
So
row. Yeah. Own them.
you're ranked number
Exactly.
11 by FIFA, but you can't beat any of the teams in the top 25 around you. and not and excluding Mexico. Mexico's in there. They beat Mexico a crap ton. Okay, fine, but you can't beat teams around you like Colombia. They did that with Brazil 1-1 in the friendly. I'll give them that. That
Right.
was good. But then but game
Yeah.
before that, they lost to Colombia 5-1 in the friendly. It's just the team's inconsistent. That's the problem. You lose to Colombia 5-1, you get embarrassed. Then you play Brazil, who of course didn't have their best team. You hold them to one goal. You score a goal of your own. You probably could have won the game. It's just a friendly, so it doesn't really matter. But that's the thing. And then you beat Bolivia, you lose to Panama, and then you lose to Uruguay 1-0, which that was another bad game. They needed to win that game, and they
Right.
needed Bolivia to win. Of course, Panama beat Bolivia, so it doesn't matter. But the way they played against Uruguay, they showed no intensity, no hunger, no desire. It was just a flat performance. They barely looked threatening offensively at all. So I'm just glad that the USA Federation, Soccer Federation, fired Greg Berhalter,
Mm-hmm.
get a coach, and there's so many talks who it's going to be. Get this coach, and you need this time now to figure out your team, figure out your identity, how you want to play this, because the World Cup's up in 2 years, and this already was a battle for the United States, losing in the group stages in their own tournament in their own country.
Right.
Now you get the World Cup in your country, you World Cup in your own country, yeah, and you need to just you need to do good. You need to get at least a knockout, at least be a top 8 team. I'd say you need to do that because it's just not going to be a good look for U.S. soccer. And if you think about it, like 2 years is not that far away, and it's already so it's summer 2024. They
Mm-hmm.
basically have they'll have the next summer and the summer after that, and before that, before you know it, it'll be the World Cup because they're already qualified for the tournament. So I don't know how the qualifiers work because they already qualified for the World Cup because since they're hosting the tournament, they don't have to like go to the qualifying matches because they already Canada, USA, Mexico will already qualified for the World Cup because they're hosting it. So I actually don't even know this. I should know this. How are they gonna play any of course they'll play friendly matches like against other teams, but are they gonna play qualifying matches? Because if they don't, I think that will just the more matches they play, the better they can get prepared and everything. And if they don't play these
Mm-hmm.
matches, it could affect the team. I think because you have teams like Jamaica playing plenty of matches qualifying, and then you have USA who don't have to worry about that because they already qualified. So I
Right.
don't know if they just. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to put them in the qualifyings if they already made
Yeah.
it. So I that's kind of the slight disadvantage I see to them hosting tournaments that they get the automatic bid in, but they kind of don't have to play as much games and worry about as much. Um, so it would be nice to see them play these matches so they can have the new coach figure this out because you have time. You can use these matches as these friendlies at least as kind of like what's the word like test matches, like test out
Hmm.
different play styles,
Yeah.
formations. Whether you want to play Belugan up top, Tim Way up top, or as a winger, want to play Ricardo Pepi, Haji Wright. What do you want to do? There's the USA has a lot of striker options off the bench too.
Right.
And especially defense too. You have Tim Ream, who's 30 something years old now, 36, 35. Want to play maybe a younger center back, maybe change up the goalkeeper instead of Matt Turner, put someone else in. There's a lot of the team has good depth. Of course, some of them are MLS players, but they're still decent players. So you have time to figure out your team because once the World Cup comes, you want to have that A+ roster ready to go. Guys like Pulisic are going to be in that roster. Of course, the midfield's not going to change. You got to keep Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams, two guys who I think had bad tournaments, but they'll bounce back. They know they'll bounce back. They're good overall. So, you want to use this time just to figure that out, get that roster ready and perfected because the Copa America was supposed to be like the preview for the World Cup. They're supposed to be like, let's see what this USA squad is made of. They didn't expect no one expected USA to win Copa America, but I thought they would at least make the semifinals or quarterfinals. At least got to get decently far. Now, like I
Right.
said again, if they got up against Argentina in the quarterfinals and they lost, 1-0, 2-0, completely get that. Look at Canada; they are a great
Right.
team. They played
Exactly.
Argentina twice. They lost both times, but they didn't play awful against Argentina. They weren't embarrassed. They didn't play bad. Same thing for Colombia. Colombia's a really good team too. They lost to
Yeah.
Argentina, but they gave them a good game. They had plenty of chances. So these teams that I wouldn't say are surprised or unexpected to do good, but just aren't talked about enough. Like everyone knows the Brazil, the Argentina, all the European teams, but these teams like Colombia, Canada, watch out for them in the next tournament at the World Cup because they can make some noise. Like you saw them do good at this
Mhm.
tournament, they'll make some noise at the next tournament, the World Cup. So
Yeah.
the USA needs to get on their level. They need to compete. They need to play like they do against the good teams, the top teams from FIFA rankings, like the Spain, the France, the Germany, the Argentina. those teams. They can't play like how they're playing against Panama. If they are going to lose to Panama, they're not going to beat Argentina or challenge these other
Oh, forget
teams.
it.
That's why
Mm.
they need to play like that against, Uruguay, all these teams. They need to do better. So these 2 years, I'm repeating myself a lot, but these 2 years, figure that out because you're going to
Yeah.
be up against some of those teams, and you're going to have to find a way to get maybe a tie in the group stage, or just, hold them out in regulation, hope to win on penalties, hope you
Yeah.
can win a penalty shootout and then get them out of there, because that's a lot of teams a lot of, not bad teams, but a lot of teams that are not as good, obviously, don't compare. They'll play for penalty shootouts and just try to win, because penalty shootouts, it's luck. It's also skill. Of course, the goalkeeper could do their research. They're a good goalkeeper. They know how to save pens. And also your players are good at penalties, taking
Right.
penalties. But there's a lot of luck involved. So, yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. Long story short. Yeah. No, that's very well said. Yeah, I agree. I feel like the next 2 years are really important for like preparing for the World Cup and the home World Cup, and trying to play friendlies and matches, because to get prepared to play like those big teams, like they're completely outclassed by like teams even like Canada, Colombia, like still had much better performances, and that's like what
Yeah.
you want the U.S. And I'm thinking about like the Cricket World Cup a little bit, because I feel like in that too, like the US needs to play like more matches against top teams to take the next step, because they had a really good run, but now everyone kind of figured them out. Like the last two matches didn't really go that well for the States, and now they qualify for the next tournament in India. So like like they're going to be ready to go, but like they have to really like like kind of keep going. Soccer, like kind of the same idea, I guess, but yeah, I mean things like that. But definitely play a lot of friendlies, play a lot of games, like improvement. Yeah, I mean other than that, I mean, it was a good tournament. Like yeah, I mean it kind of sucked for like, teams like, I guess, yeah, Brazil, they didn't have Vinicius, and then Neymar got injured and they lost to like Uruguay, and then Colombia really
Mhm.
broke through. I felt like, we kind of saw like James Rodriguez, like a little bit of resurgence from him and their team. It was first, I think, first time they made it in the final. I was listening yesterday. They won in 2001 in the Copa, and then I don't think they've been even back to the finals. So that was, a lot of like big upsets like that, like Uruguay and Colombia and Canada. Like I said, like made the big run to the semis, and that was, I don't think they made it off the group stage in the World Cup. So like that was a big improvement for them, and they played Argentina like pretty well, like twice, even though they lost both of the games. But like yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
they played them pretty strongly, I felt. Yeah, so that was impressive. I mean, they have like a pretty good team now, and yeah, I mean it's yeah, they were up there with like the other three like South American teams, and then yeah, Argentina won 2-0 against Canada, and then Colombia beat Uruguay 1-0. Yeah, yeah, and then Jefferson Lerma, he got the goal there, so they got the win, and then yesterday's final, Argentina and Colombia. I felt like that was a really good game.
It
I guess
was,
kind of
yeah.
yeah. The thing with soccer is like sometimes like scoring doesn't happen all that much, but there's like a lot that goes into like the chances, and there's like a lot of good saves, a lot of good like preparation. Like Colombia had a lot of good shots at the goal, and so did Argentina. Colombia actually outshot them 19-11. They dominated the possession the first half, or maybe not done, but they had the advantage there. And I think Argentina really flipped it up in the second half. And just like a lot of storylines from that game, obviously the fan situation was a mess with
Oh,
the
yeah.
ticketing. Yeah, that was crazy. The game got delayed, and then Messi got injured. He kind of like, I guess, tripped over the other guy's ankle, or like RES or whatever, and then he tried to come back, and then again I think he wasn't able to. Then he wasn't able to go, and his ankle was like really swollen, especially after second time. That was like really rough.
Yeah.
Like seeing him,
Yeah,
like
he couldn't continue. He
yeah,
tried, and
I
then he
know,
went down again. He was just like, take me out, and he just
yeah,
knew.
I felt
And you
so.
saw how emotional he was, right? You saw how
I
emotional
know.
he
I
was.
saw he was in tears. Like I felt so sad. And like every fan was like, even the Columbia fans, like everyone was like really worried. And like that's like the biggest face in soccer. And like it showed like how much he cared about the game. Like even though he's like the
Yeah,
best, and he's like he was still like, I want to play. I want to help my team win. Like all those emotions. Like, and he couldn't. And but yeah, I mean like good game. I Colombia really hung in there, but like eventually like Argentina like broke through like at the very end. It was also Angel Di Maria's final game as an Argentina player. That was So that was, another big moment for them. He got a little curtain call, and then, Otamendi, and they like a lot of late subs, and like Lo Celso and Lautaro Martinez, the leading goal scorer in Copa America with 5 goals. It's impressive how he can come in like late in a match, and like he doesn't start, but like he'll still get the goals anyway. Like especially that
Yeah,
last goal, right? Yeah, like
yeah,
that's like an
he's
interesting
a
thing.
great impact sub. The thing is,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Julian Alvarez was kind of the backup striker. Um, but Lautaro Martinez off the bench has been phenomenal. He's been so good off the bench. I don't want to be negative, but Messi didn't have that great of a tournament, in my opinion. But Lautaro Martinez, he
Right.
was he was insane for Argentina. I think Argentina overall had a great tournament. Of course, they won the thing, but Lautaro Martinez, yeah, he. It's funny because I actually think he didn't have that great. For recently in the past, he wasn't that good with Argentina in the national team. He was not that great. But this tournament, he kind of had a resurgence. I'm trying to remember how he did at the World Cup, but I don't think they won the World Cup. I don't know how great he did at the World Cup. I know in 2018 he didn't do that good at that World Cup, but this tournament he really made a good name for himself. Of course, he's already known as a good player. He was Inter Milan this season. They won the Serie A, great season for them. We know he's a good player. He scored. He's been a main team before in Europe, but like the national team, like he has to be the starting striker in next tournament. Because you have this offense now. It's losing Di Maria. It'll be Messi's last tournament at the World Cup probably. So Lautaro Martinez got to see somebody. They have a key goal scorer right there with him right now still, and he still has some years ahead of him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, no, yeah, Lautaro Martinez, just a really solid player, like you said, like impact sub off the bench, and like just the way he's able to score goals. Like the goal yesterday from like the pass from Lo Celso got him open, and he was able to just like
Mm-hmm.
he like kicked it right at the goalkeeper's like head, so he had to like duck, kind of avoid it in a way, and like just like with a lot of power, so like he just got that one in the back of the net and opened the scoring. It was weird because like the game was like on so late, like I was just like like I mean, I was kind of in and out, but like when I saw that goal, I was just like, wow, like that was like a really big, obviously that's like only goal in the game, but that was like a really big moment, and like it's like they finally were able to break through after like the scoreless draw that went on for 90 plus minutes in extra time, and maybe I guess at that point Colombia's probably hoping to get to a shootout or try to get
Yeah,
their own, but like yeah, and then in a shootout, like anything can happen, you know what I mean, like you said, it's all luck, but like Argentina needed to find a way to break through, and I guess they did. So they didn't let it get there, but it was a really good tournament, and then yeah, the final was like really exciting, having both on the same day, like the halftime show, like with Shakira, and like the goal late, like the Messi, not being there, like there's just like a lot going on, but it was a really good final. The Euros was a really good final too, I thought. So yeah, I'm really happy with like yeah, the soccer, or the footballs, like if depending on which one you want to use, but like it was a really good like day of sports, because like Wimbledon also happened, like the championship between Djokovic and Alcaraz, big day
I
for
saw
sport.
that, but I didn't look at anything about it. I'm gonna be honest. Like I saw it, but I didn't actually watch it or anything.
That's fair. Yeah. I honestly, with all the soccer that's been going on, I haven't really watched any Wimbledon except for like, but like when I saw Djokovic and Alcaraz were playing in the final, like that's it's a big match. I like the sport of tennis. Like it's I tend to watch like the majors. Like my family really likes it, so like we tend to watch that like all together, even more than like a lot of other sports. But yeah, Djokovic and Alcaraz definitely like two of the best in the world. So like yeah, I mean, Alcaraz beating him in straight sets, like that's usually very unheard of, because like Djokovic will always rally from behind. Like he's like one
Mm.
of the best top player. He has like 24 major tournaments, the most all time. I think tied with like Margaret Court, who's in the women's game, but in the men's he has the most all time. But I mean, even if he loses, he's probably gonna go down in like 4 or 5 sets. Like it never like a 3 set match. So Alcaraz is dominant 6-2, 6-2, and then the tiebreaker 7-6. Djokovic could have won the third set, or Alcaraz could have won the third set easily or relatively easily. Kind of collapsed. But then when the tiebreak he Alcaraz won. So yeah, big sports day, big day for Spain, because Alcaraz also from Spain. So like and then Spain winning the soccer tournament. I think they even asked him a question about that too, and he's just like, see what happens. So yeah, no, that was like that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess shifting over now, that we talked about all of that. I guess, while we're still on the topic of soccer, I've been hearing like the Rutgers women's soccer team, they played they practiced at Rutgers, and I know they're gearing up for the Olympics now, which is, starting in like, I don't even know, like 2 weeks, I think, or something like
Yeah,
that.
end of July. I think their first game is against Zambia. I think July 20. I know it was July 25th. I believe.
Yeah, July 26th is probably like the opening ceremony or something, because that's the first day to Sunday, August 11th. Oh man, the Olympics is like, that's such a cool time in sports, because it's just like the whole world comes together, and there's, you know what I mean, there's so many games, and there's so many events, and there's so many nations, and like there's all these sports that no one even like watches. Well, not no one, but like people don't tend to watch like around the others, like, you know what I mean. I kind of wanted to talk about that, but like while we're on the subject of Rutgers, hosting the women's soccer team, I know there's some connections there, like Casey Murphy, goalkeeper. She played at Rutgers, right? And I think you wrote an article about that. You're telling me. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, yeah, yeah. And then they practiced here, and then like, yeah, there's been a big history of the Rutgers, and like Alexi Lawless and Carly Lloyd, like who commentate for Fox Sports now. They went to Rutgers. They played on both of the men's and the women's national team. Like Carly Lloyd, big, like, really famous for, women's team's been so dominant for years, and sometimes people don't really like them as much as broadcasters, but I mean, that's still terrific, like that they're, representing the school and stuff like that, and playing on the teams. But yeah, that's a cool like thing that they practice on the campus. Obviously like Casey Murphy's from there, but I mean, were you like covering that like yourself, or like how did that like go down? Like what were your
yeah.
like?
So
Yeah,
there was just an email. Like I actually didn't realize. So the reason why they were practicing at Rutgers is because they had a friendly against Mexico. I forgot what day it was. Hold on, I have the schedule in front of me. It was really recent. USA.
yeah,
It was they played Mexico, right? They won 1-0.
right.
I
Mm-hmm.
found it. It was Saturday. So they were there Tuesday, I think it was. I think it was Tuesday, July 9th. If I'm correct, I'm
Right.
trying to remember my dates.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's irrelevant. So they had a friendly against Mexico at Red Bull Arena, which of course is in Harrison.
Right,
And
right. Yeah.
yeah, so they practiced at Rutgers, and I was just going because they were like, Casey Murphy is a part of the team. There'll be availability to talk to her. So I'm like, yeah, like let me do this because
Medium work.
I didn't
Yeah.
have work till later in the day. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
let me do this. So I go there. We just talked to Casey Murphy, not the actual national team, just Casey Murphy.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
but cool to talk to her. Rutgers alum talking about experience at Rutgers, how that
Right.
kind of prepared her for where she is today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's not going to be probably the starter. I think Alyssa, I don't know her name, Alyssa Nair.
Listen
She's the
there,
starting
I think.
goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Alyssa Nair, yeah, she's the
I've seen
starting
her
goalkeeper.
before in like the previous tournaments and stuff like that
Yeah,
too.
so Casey Murphy will probably be the backup, but
Right.
still gets to go to the. She was still picked for the squad,
Right.
so it's good. You could think that maybe one day she'll take Alyssa's
Maybe.
not Nair's
Yeah.
spot as a starting
Could
goalkeeper
be.
because Alyssa's older than her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to watch the team practice after that, which is really cool. I've seen like of course like NYCFC practice before,
Right.
but I've never actually seen them practice like in front of me like that. Like for NYC, I've seen it online. Their training ground is kind of upstate New York ish. I'm able to go to the practices, but I'm not gonna drive all the way over there to New York for that because that's
Mm-hmm.
far and just for
Yeah.
all that. So this was actually really really cool to see. Like these players practicing right in front of me was really really awesome. So
I'm
it was a
sure.
really
Well.
cool experience. Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's just cool to see. Like they're using Rutgers facilities.
Right.
Yeah, so this is just a big tournament for them in the Olympics. They haven't won a
Um,
gold medal since 2012, so looking to get back to that. They didn't do too hot the last World Cup.
yeah. I
So
saw.
they did
Yeah.
they
They
did win
lost
they
to
did win
Sweden.
the Gold Cup this year, but definitely this is an important tournament for them because they won it back in March, the Gold Cup, but this tournament's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be important for them because
It's the
they
Olympics.
haven't been as great recently. Another big thing was Alex Morgan
Right.
was not picked to the squad. She was not picked. She was snubbed.
I did.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Alex Morgan. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I
she
did
made a
see that
post about
too.
everything.
Yeah,
Hasn't
yeah.
been doing as
She's
great
been
as she
like a
has been in the
mainstay
past.
for a long time, but yeah, I guess her form's like going down.
Yeah,
There's a
she's
lot of
also
young
getting older
talent.
too. A
There's a
lot
lot
of
of
the
young
players
talent on
like
that squad.
Carly Lloyd, Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan,
Hmm. I
most of them are
know,
retired now. So
right?
that
Yeah,
age is kind of closing down. Now you have players like Sophia Smith and everything. The younger players
right.
kind of coming
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
So yeah, it might be her time where she's just kind of done from the national team. gonna retire soon.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, that team,
it's like an end of an era.
that team
It's
that
like
went back-to-back World Cups, 2015, 2019. That that
yeah,
golden team might kind of be that age might be done now. Um,
yeah,
but the team is still talented, of course.
uh-huh,
They're in contention to win a gold medal at this tournament.
right.
Definitely a good team. They're if you look at it, they're much better than the men's team. So I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I bet on them
that's
to win the
true.
World Cup for the men's team. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
They've always been a lot better. The men's team's always been kind of struggling, but the women's team's been like the best. Well, not really struggling. They just haven't been at the same level. And I feel like they've gotten better, and then they kind of went back again. It's like annoying, but the women's team's always been like top. Yeah, they won 2 tournaments, and the last one didn't really go all that well. But yeah, it's like the end of an era, kind of with like like yeah, Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd, like Megan Rapinoe. Now it's like Sophia Smith, like Trinity Rodman, like players like that. They're like taking over, I guess, and like
yeah,
yeah, I saw Alyssa Nair was this is like her 100th appearance or something like that in the qualifying
yeah,
game against Mexico. So like, but yeah, it's definitely a new team, new era, I guess. And then you got like Casey Murphy and like Mallory Swanson. Like some of the older veterans are kind of still there, but like Lindsay Oran's still there. Like Lynn Williams was like a sub in that one, but yeah, I mean they got a 1-0 win over Mexico in the tune-up. I guess that's a big rivalry. Hopefully they can kind of bounce back, I guess, or whatever, because like or from the World Cup, because like it'd be nice to see that. But yeah, definitely Alex Morgan not being or it's definitely like a changing of the guard. I mean, they're still a very talented team, but I guess like newer players are taking over. So I mean, I think that's really cool. I think they have a good chance of probably winning the World Cup, the women's Olympic tournament, or at least being a top team, like competitive team. Like I know, like Sweden beat them last time. Like France is, I think, pretty good. There's like a lot of teams, but
yeah.
they're like
I'm
up
looking. They
there.
got bronze at the last one in Tokyo 2020 because they got bronze at the last one.
I
So
see.
I
Yeah,
mean, still, but they
still not
definitely are
bad.
capable of getting silver or gold. Still a good finish
Yeah.
though. But yeah, they have one, two, three, four gold medals and one
Hmm.
silver and one bronze. So yeah, they actually had gold. Let's see, 90s. Yeah, they had it. Wait, 1, 4, 8. They had it 3 years in a row. Actually, no. Yeah, 3 years in a row. 2004, 2008, 2012. Gold 3 years in a row, and then they had silver in 2000 in Sydney. So they had gold through they won back to back to back. So yeah, and then so yeah, this tournament's gonna be big for them. Um,
Yeah.
Again, it kind of serves as a preview for the World Cup because
Right. The
you
World
know
Cup's what next year or two? No, well, like now it's 4 years, right? So last year was the Women's World Cup, so it's in what 2027 against the next one, I think, for them, or like
yeah, 27.
right,
Yeah,
right, right. Yeah, it's
27. The
every
year after
four.
the men's one. Yeah, Spain
Yeah,
won the last one. It was
what
Spain.
last Women's
Uh,
World Cup,
Spain
right?
beat England, and then Sweden was third, and Australia was fourth.
Interesting.
So Sweden, the team
That's
that beat
yeah,
the
because
U.S.,
Spain
went
just
on
right. I
third
remember
place.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
In third place, yeah. Because that's interesting. Because Spain just beat Spain beat England in the Euro, so like it's like the same matchup from the finals and women's, I guess. But
that's
yeah, I was
true.
seeing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they've had a good year against England, but women's Olympics soccer that should be fun. I guess I did kind of have a question like about like why in the men's like Olympics like why are they not allowed to send like their best players? Because I was seeing like all the players are not even like close to like the best for like the men's team. Like, there's a
Yeah,
reason
I
for
don't
that. Like, they have
know.
to be under 23 or something like
I don't
that. Like,
know.
that is weird. But I guess because they just had the these tournament. I guess I feel like because it didn't used to be like that, right? Because I remember like after the whole 7-1 thing, like with Germany and Brazil, like didn't like Brazil like in the Brazil home one like with the Brazil Olympics, like I remember watching those like Brazil like beat Germany for I think their first Olympic title ever in men's soccer, something or gold or whatever, and it was like a big deal. And like all the top players were there on Germany, Brazil, like Neymar was there, like
Yeah, I
all
don't know.
the
'Cause I'm also
I don't know why
looking
they
because
changed that.
even the soccer team, there's like a new Marco Mitrovic is the head coach. So I don't know why
Yeah,
it's different.
that's weird because you want to see like the best of the best, right? You don't want to see like these, like no offense, but these like scrub teams, right? Like I don't know. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know
know.
if they.
It does say it's the men's is their first return to the tournament since 2008. So they haven't been playing at the last two Summer
The men's
Olympics.
team. I
But
see.
it
I
says the
see.
men's Olympic soccer tournament 18-player roster is restricted to players under the age of 23. So I don't know
Mm,
why. I don't
that
actually know why.
explains. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they want to keep like the World Cup and the other tournaments like on another level or something like that than this. Like I don't know. Maybe it's just too much. Like I really don't know. That's weird. It feels a little disappointing, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm thinking of like the IPL for cricket. Like they don't want to send their like players to like other leagues, like to keep that
I
like
don't know. Well,
it might be something
says
like similar,
it says
but
the U.S. qualified for the 2024 Olympics with a dominant performance at the 2022 CONCACAF U20 Championship in Honduras. So
oh
maybe because it was U20 there, they have to have certain younger players. They can't just like put all the best
yeah,
players in. I don't know,
I
because
think so.
I'm
It could be
assuming if
that.
this is like this for the U.S., every other country like Brazil, everything
Yeah, I'm
has to
sure
have their
because
younger players too.
they can't bring their top team and have the yeah. I mean, I think it's just the age requirement or something
Maybe it's
like.
for the. I think it's maybe it's just men's is like that, and women's is not. Because no, maybe it's just this time around because of the Copa America and Euros. Maybe that's why it's different.
It could be
Because
that
it
too.
wasn't
They
like
might
that.
be
Yeah, it
like
wasn't like that
really
in the past.
tired.
I remember Neymar playing everything in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're right.
remember. Yeah, they
So
won.
I don't
Yeah,
know
so
about that. I
it
don't
could
know.
be.
That's
Maybe they're
interesting.
just really tired. Like they don't want to overexert or something. Like because then they have to go back to like club play. Like after that, like it's or I don't know. I don't know when that starts up again. But like probably in the
Usually end
summer.
of like mid August, end of August type of stuff.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. So like that's like it's like no break, right? Like that's just finished. That's gonna start 2 weeks, and maybe they just want these players to rest. That could actually be what it is. Now I think about because otherwise there's just like no time off and like. But yeah, Olympic soccer. Any other like Olympic events you're excited about? Like just basketball is gonna be really exciting this year. I mean they have the
I
dream
mean, I
teams
just like
which is
watching
really fun.
volleyball, like the beach volleyball and everything. I
Yeah,
like that.
beach
Volleyball's
volleyball
a
is
good
like
sport, so that's always just
that is
fun to
really
watch.
it is really fun to watch. Like yeah, because like they go for the digs. Like beach volleyball is interesting. It's like in the sand, and they have like
It's
the team.
hard. It's
It's really
hard.
hard.
It's hard to move like that quick.
Yeah, and there's just so many like sports that you don't watch on a regular basis unless you're like really locked into sports like swimming. Like I'm like a big water guy. Like you know what I mean? Like I love watching swimming. Like Michael Phelps and all of them. Like Katie Ledecky, so dumb and like just watching. But like just the whole concept. The swimming races, those are fun. The medleys or the relays, like the individual events. There's so many like talented swimmers and that the
Yeah.
U.S. in both men's and women's. Like every time, like there's Caleb Dressel. So it's exciting to see that every 4 years and be like really into it. And same thing with like gymnastics, like the women's team and even the men's team. They have really good teams there. I mean, like there's so many other sports like diving. There's water
Hmm.
polo. Like I've always been a big fan of water polo. I don't know why. It's like handball, but it's kind of like throwing in the water. But like I feel like that could be really fun to play, and it's really fun to watch too. Anything in the water it's like exciting, and then track and field like that's obviously a big one, like especially like after like Usain Bolt like won all the hundreds and this and that and like but like that's always big. Basketball, like I said, like I think that's like, well obviously what I watch basketball like year round, but like I mean they got like this year they got like LeBron and Curry and Jason Tatum and like the whole all the stars on there. So that
Hmm.
should be fun. Like I've been seeing I haven't really been watching, but they have their warm up match against like they kind of struggled against like Australia, which kind of has me a little worried. But I feel like they'll be fine. Like it's just like gelling, and then they have like Kevin Durant. They have like just like everyone, like Anthony Edwards. Like I don't know how a team could like compete against like everyone. Like usually they don't send everybody, but this year they sent like literally all the top guys.
They're
But
going
like
for that gold medal.
exactly. You gotta like it's the U.S. like playing. You know what I mean? Against like all these other teams. Like of course, like the U.S. is gonna like I'm sure like probably win the gold medal. But yeah, no, it should be really fun to watch. They got women's basketball. They got like the three for 3v3 basketball. I mean, I don't know. There's like a million sports. There's like breakdancing. There's this. There's that. Like that's a new one.
I
There's
didn't know
like
there's breakdancing. I didn't
yeah,
know that was
that's a
there.
new one. Yeah, I don't know
There's
that.
a
There's
lot. Yeah, there's so
skateboarding.
much stuff.
There's
There's something there for
surfing.
everybody.
Exactly. There's like there's skateboarding, there's surfing, there's like tennis, there's like
Wow, skateboarding. I knew
badminton,
tennis was there.
well, obviously, yeah, field hockey.
Skateboarding. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? These are all these sports. Like, well, I think that was their last time. Then there's boxing. There's like table tennis. There's like cycling. There's like I mean I don't know. Just like you could just name your sport and like they got it. Like the 2028, there's gonna be flag football in the LA Olympics. There's gonna be cricket, which that's gonna be so cool. Like the T20.
Wow. Yeah.
right? Like it's not gonna be awesome or what? Like you know what I mean? So
Is cricket
yeah,
always in it?
what?
Is cricket always in it? I don't even know.
No, it's not. It's never
So
been
it's
in there.
new that year?
They're gonna add it for yeah. I think probably
Wow,
on
okay.
the heels of the U.S. World Cup. Like, yeah, it's a short format. It's a 20 over format. So I feel like that's
Yeah, it's
gonna
gonna
be
be in the US, right?
yeah. The whole Olympics is gonna be in the
Yeah, because
U.S.
everyone was saying it's gonna be like for soccer, at least it's like Copa America this year, World Cup then the Olympics. Yeah.
Right? Like
Okay,
back to
cool.
back to back. Yeah. Right, yeah, so same thing. Yeah, that should be a really fun like debut. I just feel like more people should watch that sport. Like I feel like it's exciting. Like regardless of nationality, I feel like just the scoring system, like the run scoring. Like I feel like it could be something you can get addicted to very quickly. But
Yeah.
like it's kind of happened to me. I was never really super into it, and I got so into it. And obviously India winning helps and all of that. But like them being really good, it helps. But just also following the U.S. team, developing. Like we talked about a lot on my other episodes. But yeah, I mean that should be fun. But like in the meantime, 2024 Summer Olympics, super excited about that. It's a whole thing, right? So I mean, but yeah, I mean, I guess before we wrap up, I guess I did want to touch on some baseball. Like that's not something I've really we that's not something we really followed. Like, I mean, not really. Well, not really, not followed, but like we talked about baseball a lot last year, and we tend to do that. Wherever the radio here, like on the podcast, we did it a lot last summer. So for this summer, we've been so busy with like NBA, NHL, every our thing in every game and every series, whatever. But like that's all over. The Cricket World Cup, we did the same thing. And then after that, that was kind of like NBA free agency. That's always the really fun one, with the players changing teams. NHL, we were supposed to do an episode. I don't know. We might get to that one too. But MLB, we haven't talked about that in quite a while in detail. But we have. But I mean, just looking at these standings is like it's at the midpoint. I think it's a good time to start like thinking about that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's yeah, AL East is like very interesting. I mean, you got like the Orioles, the Yankees. Like the Yankees started so well this season. They kind of like took a nosedive, but they're still in a really good position. They're one game back. I think the Orioles have also struggled as of late, and the Yankees took 2 out of 3 from them. Could have won yesterday's game too. But they're right back in the swing of things. The Guardians doing really well right now. In the Central, Twins. I mean, and then the West, like the Astros, kind of seem to kind of recover. I guess they're right behind the Mariners now from their slow start. Baseball's baseball, and then the Phillies are doing like outstanding in the NL East. Yeah, and that's like actually that's like one of the one Philly team I don't like hate because they're not like a direct rival of my own. So I have no problem. But like the Braves in second. Yeah, the Mets have kind of rebounded. They had this whole thing with the grimace thing and
Yeah.
and like they've kind of that was fun. They've been in third, and then the Brewers NL Central leading. The Dodgers are kind of like the Dodgers of their usual selves, like we were talking about. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, it seems like the standout teams right now, the Phillies are definitely hot. Except for the series against the A's. Like now that I'm looking at it, it's kind of embarrassing to be honest. But like I don't really know what happened there, but
We got
maybe they
swept.
had
Yeah, I know they got one. They lost 2 of 3. My bad, but damn,
right.
18-3. Oh my
Right?
god.
Like what on earth is going on? But anyway, that one sometimes things like that happen. Like the one where we went to like the Yankees lost to the A's. Like things happen. Like it could just be an off game or whatever. But
I mean, the
you can
Yankees
get
also
it.
lost 17-5 to Baltimore on June 20th.
Yeah,
So yeah, at home.
exactly. And then you got Phillies Pirates. Yeah, the Yankees
Oh,
exactly.
the Pirates too. Paul Skeens is insane.
I know, right? Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
been cooking guys. Yeah, the Yanks, right? Like, I mean, they've really been struggling like lately. Like, yeah, but then they kind of beat the Red Sox like 14-4, and like people are like that was a big one. It's just like it's good, and then they kind of struggled again. But then it seems like they've been kind of getting back on track a little bit. I think the Orioles series was pretty good. Like, I think they'll be all
Yeah.
right. They got the
The
Rays
problem is they
coming.
can't win series right now. Like
Yeah, they're
against the
top
Red
two,
Sox and the Rays, they both they won.
two of
They
three.
took 1 of 3.
I mean, yeah, 1 of 3.
Yeah,
And the
yeah. They
Red
lost
Sox,
2 of 3. They took one of
yeah,
three.
they're losing
Yeah,
like one. Yeah,
and
that's
then
the
they got
thing. They're
swept by the
losing.
Reds. Again, they beat the Blue Jays. Actually, sorry, they split the series with Blue Jays. Then they got freaking embarrassed by the Mets. The first game was close 9-7. Second game it was 12-2. It just disaster. That disastrous game. Luis Heel has had a great start to the season. He had a good win recently against this series against the Baltimore Orioles, but
Mm-hmm.
it kind of sucks because he's just not. He kind of kind of fallen down to earth a little bit. He was 9-1 at one point, had the best ERA in the AL. Was definitely in contention for All-Star starting pitcher for the AL, kind of how Paul Skeens is the starting pitcher for the NL All-Star team. Luis Heel was in that talk for he could be the AL starting pitcher come All-Star time, and because of those recent performances against the Mets and everything, and the Red Sox and the Dodgers, he kind of doesn't have that. Well, he lost that obviously, but still, like I said, still no worry. He's still a great. Like he's a rookie, so he still has plenty of time to just get better and get better. Because the start of the season, no one thought he was gonna be a Yankee, one of the top pitchers for the Yankees this season. Of course, after Garrett Cole's injury, he had a rough return from injury, really bad return. But now he's getting back down to what he's good at. I think he was rushed back too quickly, but that's irrelevant. Yeah, the Yankees are in an interesting spot because 58-40 is not bad, but considering the start they had to the season, it's really disappointing because May and April and May were phenomenal months. June was not good. Was not good. It all started. They played the Dodgers. That was a good series, but kind of after
Right.
that, they beat the Royals. Then they lost to the Red Sox, the series to the Red Sox, and then after that, it all went downhill. That's when the Orioles disaster happened. They got swept by the Braves. Sorry, they again took 1 of 3 from the Braves. Swept by the Mets. Split with Blue Jays. Swept by the freaking Reds, who not
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Again, then Red Sox, then the Rays. Now Baltimore, winning that series. So, like I said, this win against Baltimore, this series against Baltimore was really, really needed because both teams are like dead even right now. Of course, Baltimore have 2 less losses, but wins wise, they're dead even in the AL East standings. So, winning 2 of 3 was really, really big. Sweeping would have been great, but it's okay. You can't win them all. So now after the break, back with a series, and I think it's Stadium against the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Mets and the Red Sox again. So you have
Yeah.
this next stretch actually. Holy crap! This next stretch for the Yankees is the Rays, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Phillies, and then the Blue Jays. Those 4 series are going to be really
Wow.
important.
That's
3 of
huge.
those are against
Absolutely huge.
3 Mets. 3 of those are against division teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Rays, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays. So you have to
Yeah.
win. In my opinion, you got to win all those series. Maybe not the Phillies is going to be a tough series.
Yeah.
In Philly, just winning 1 out of 3 of those would be nice. But
Right. Right.
the Red Sox won. The Red Sox won at Fenway. Blue Jays at Yankee Stadium. And Rays at
Mhm.
Yankee Stadium. You got 2 of them at home. 1 of them at
Yeah.
Fenway, which would be tough. But you got to win at least 2 of those series. And then against the Phillies, people are saying that could be like a couple months ago. That would be the World Series. That could be the World Series
Ooh.
matchup: Yankees versus Phillies, and it still can.
It
Um,
could be.
they just
Yeah.
gotta Yankees gotta figure this out because the Yankees they had some injuries now. With Rizzo and everything and Stanton, but players like Ben Rice have been good. Trent Grisham has been much better actually. So some guys are kind of starting to emerge, especially Ben Rice. Jeez, I mean, I don't think Rizzo's gonna come back to first base, starting first baseman, because Ben Rice has been phenomenal, baby. And then you got Jason Dominguez who's going to come back to the
Yeah.
outfield. He was going to come back, then he got hurt again, so his return got extended a little bit more. He was supposed to be back by now, I think, or at least around this time, around the All-Star break. But I think now he's kind of not coming back till the fall, September, October, which kind of sucks. That's the end of the season. So I don't know how much he's going to be used because I'm not going to put a guy in who's fresh off injury, come playoff time. Um, but we'll see. So yeah, the team is just they're in a weird spot right now. They just need to they can't lose all those series because that would be really, really bad.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely can't do that. They're certainly still in the mix. Like as we're in the All Star break. Yankees Phillies. I feel like that'd be a really fun one for like us local fans, like a lot of New
Yeah, I'm
York
excited.
fans.
I'll definitely be watching those games. I hope it's not a
Oh
blowout
yeah.
where Bryce
I
Harper
hope
and
not.
everyone's destroying the Yankees. But
No, that could happen the way the Yankees have been playing like lately-ish. But
I can
like
see
we'll
one of
see
those
what
games. Here's how it's gonna go. So here's how the script normally has us go. The Yankees
happens.
they lose game 1 barely, right?
Yeah.
They
Right.
they win game 2, and then they get blown out in game 3.
Yeah. That's probably
That's how it could go. I hope not, but we'll see. We'll
We'll
see.
see. We'll see. It should be a good series. Maybe a preview for how things go later on in the month or in the when school starts again, and like the playoffs and red
Yeah,
October, and the Yankees have been looking nice, so like in the beginning, and then the Orioles, I feel like that's another kind of ish local team, but not really, but like that's another team that's
they're
good. Those
close.
two are probably gonna, yeah, they're not far. They're probably gonna they potentially score off, but it's exciting. It's definitely exciting. Juan Soto's look good. I mean, Judge, but I mean they've been skidding a little bit, but like it seems like a bit of a better year than last year. Like that was kind of a wash.
Definitely. There's
Yeah, they're
I
definitely
have
missing.
no doubt that they will make that they won't miss they won't
Oh,
miss the
easily.
playoffs. They'll make the playoffs.
They'll definitely make the playoffs,
The
and they
thing
could
is, they
even
just
win
have
the
to
division.
get far in the playoffs. Gotta get to at
Yeah,
least the
exactly.
ALCS, in my opinion.
At
You
least,
can't lose the
yeah,
wild card, can't lose the ALDS. Get to the ALCS at least.
right. And then we'll see
Have a
how things
series.
go.
Maybe against the Guardians they'll lose. Maybe against the Orioles they'll lose a series against. Maybe even the Red Sox. But get to the ALCS because you have to get that far at least.
Yeah,
This team you have and how they're playing.
yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I guess last thing before we sign off here, but yeah, the home run derby. I don't know how much you've been following that since we've been talking, but how is that going for us? Because is it still going, or how do you know? I mean, like who's winning that? Like I don't know. It's kind
Hold
of in
on.
and
Yeah, there was just a commercial. I was looking at it a little bit.
out. We're
Well, I think let's see. They're just showing stuff right now. I was going in and out, but
yeah.
stuff is happening right now. I can't skip backwards. I don't know. Right now they're just like showing like videos of everybody.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, we'll have to get back to you on that one.
Alex
But
Boehm's going up right now. The guy on the Phillies, he's
on
going
the
up I think
Phillies,
right
yeah, I
now.
was seeing him going earlier. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting. Yeah, maybe I'll turn that on after this. But I mean, yeah, I mean NBA Summer League's going on. That's exciting. The draft. We already talked about all of that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we pretty much covered just about all the sports that are going on at the time. So I mean, definitely we talked about like soccer. The Olympics coming up. The women's
Mhm.
team. We talked about some baseball. We talked about all the other like like I wouldn't say obscure, but like the sports that people might not really be following other times of the year or years. But I'm so excited for like the future episodes of this because like we'll have so many sports to talk about. Like we'll get to talk about track and swimming and this and that. Like I feel like those could make really good episodes just to like
Yeah.
right. Like I mean, yeah, I mean that could be super cool. So I mean. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like me and Jitesh will be following that like intently. Yeah, next big sports event coming up. Yeah, it's just been like it's been a lot of sports lately, like cricket and NBA and Stanley Cup, and then kind of like the soccer stuff, and then now we're going to the Olympics, and then after that, like football's gonna come back. Like I can't wait for like American football. Obviously, I'm big fan. So like I mean, yeah, when that starts up again, like be watching the Giants, Rutgers, the NFL, like college football. The video game came out
Yes,
today.
sir.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I have to get that. I mean, that's gonna be like super fun. People are already like playing it. But yeah, no, I'm super excited for this. Maybe we can finish on this now. Like on this, for the upcoming like Rutgers football season. Like I feel like Rutgers has a really good chance to do well. I mean, no Ohio State, no Penn State, no Michigan, no Oregon, none of the top four teams. But they've also really like have a good roster. Like Calic Man's coming in. They've got transfers from the FCS, like Daimir Miller and receiver Kamanungai. The Big Ten rushing leader, like a really good defense, like Aaron
Hmm.
Lewis, Monterey. The secondary's back. Like the defense and special teams have always been good. I mean, you got Jay Patel, you got punting like replenish. I mean, yeah. So the defense, I have no worries about the dark side. I have no worries about special teams. The run game's gonna be good. Now, like the question is, like, can we get a good passing game? Because if Rutgers can, like, I feel like it could be a really good season. I know, I'm sure everyone's like really like psyched up about the football season next year. A lot of big games, but yeah, I mean, they're playing, Virginia Tech on the road. They're playing, Washington at home for the blackout. They're playing USC 11 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be absolutely crazy, I'm sure. But I'm sure I'll be watching that at night. But like, yeah, I mean, how it is. But like, yeah, I mean, like, what are your takeaways on like Rutgers football for 2024? And like, what do you think they're going to finish like around? Because I could easily see like 7-5, like even maybe 8-4, depending on the way like things go. Because I feel like there's really not a team that's like Rutgers is definitively going to lose to like 100%. Like maybe USC on the road, but other than that, there's a lot of toss-ups this series of like with Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan State. Like
Yeah.
a lot of teams at the level. There's Maryland. I feel like there's a lot of toss-up games. So I mean, Rutgers could go 6-6. But like they could also, like go do really well potentially and go like 8-4, maybe like even 9-3. I feel like that's going to be a really big season, Piscataway. I know that's going to be probably a big, rainy season too. And like, basketball is going to be like stoked for Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. But in terms of football, what do you think about like Rutgers football going into the season?
Oh, I think the floor is at least make a bowl game again. I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
Right.
Schedule's much more what's the word? Like, friendly this year, I guess you could say compared to last
Yeah,
year.
I'm really
So
happy about that
seven
one.
to five, 7-5 or 8-4. Those two are definitely, reachable, I'd say. I'd probably say 7-5 or 8-4, definitely.
Right.
Kind of see how the team plays out after, getting to
Yeah.
Big Ten play.
Yeah.
But I mean, they return a lot of guys, and we have that great recruiting class. In the future, Greg Schiano's been cooking it up. Of course, the whole coaching
Oh
staff
my
is cooking it
God.
up.
The
So
recruiting
yeah,
has
I
been
mean,
much.
the future is just
Absolutely nuts.
only good. So just keep winning these games, making the bowl games, winning the bowl games. It's just gonna get better than that. I mean, it's gonna be tough to compete with the Michigans and the Ohio State, Penn State, but the recruiting is getting better and better. With
Exactly.
time, Rutgers will get better, and we'll be continue to flip guys. Like they flip guys from Penn State to Rutgers,
I
something like that.
know.
They'll continue to
Yeah.
do that. So just keep doing what they're doing, keep at it, because it will only get better as long as you stick to this formula. You keep winning games, you keep winning bowl games.
Get,
Guys are gonna want to come to
recruiting.
Rutgers instead of Penn State or Michigan
At
or
least the
Ohio
New
State.
Jersey guys like will stay, and
Yeah,
then yeah,
exactly.
like
They got
yeah,
yeah, they got many Jersey guys on the roster. At least keep those
yeah,
guys because and then the team will
the
get better and better.
players.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just Greg Schiano was rebuilding the team. It's a hard rebuild, definitely not easy. It took a little bit, but this year was a massive stepping stone forward in that rebuild, and we saw that
Oh,
with the
for
bowl
sure.
game.
The
And
bowl
Kyle
win. Yeah.
Monanga's just crazy good season.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I feel like Rutgers, yeah, like they got DJ McClary, they got like Forrester, they got like Michael Thomas, they got like all these 4-star players at skill positions like corner, receiver, the defensive line, like the whole 9 yards. Like you're getting good players, they're flipping. Like this is like really good. Like and on the field, like yeah, really good season, won a bowl game. Like I said, good defense, good special teams, good, of course, Kamananga being a beast. Like, and they're returning so much of that. I feel like they could build on that, without like the big boys. Like, there's no like guaranteed losses like Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Whether you love or hate them, and like, I don't really feel great about at least two of those teams. But like, they're like really tough teams for most teams to play in the nation, but none of them are on the schedule. No, Oregon is also a really good team. It's supposed to be a good team, but so this year Rutgers, going in, with a lot of toss-up games. I feel like Howard, Akron, like those are kind of warm-up games, like kind of get Kyle McManus like settled in there. I feel like he's a little bit more of an accurate passer than Winston at least. Who had a more higher, like run game stuff. But I feel like those will be like should be wins for Rutgers, and then Virginia Tech is going to be really a tough test. I feel like Washington, the runners up, even though they lost a lot of talent, that's going to be a big tough test, and but a winnable game in the blackout. And then from there, like we'll see, like anything can happen. So I mean, yeah, like you said, I think 7-5, 8-4. I think that's probably the range Rutgers is targeting this year.
Mm-hmm.
A good, nice bowl game. A lot of the top teams with college football, a lot of the top teams are going to make the playoff. There's a lot of changes this year. There's a 12-team playoff. There's the top two teams make the conference championship game no matter what, even if it's a rematch of the Ohio State, Michigan. Like even if they're the two best teams, they'll play. Now chances are that might not happen because like Michigan, I think is going to take a step back. But regardless, we're going to see like top two teams in every conference playing for a championship. We're going to see the 12-team playoff, which I'm so excited for because I think all the top teams should get a chance to be in the playoff. And what that's going to do for Rutgers is they're going to get to probably play in a higher level bowl game, because if the top teams are playing in the playoff, then the next best bowl games are going to be filled by like the Rutgerses of the world, or like South Carolina, like up and coming like teams like that, right? Who are like not really there, but and who knows, maybe in a few years Rutgers just get to the playoffs. So we'll have to see. But I think it's times are looking bright on the banks of the Raritan, or whatever the saying is. And I'm so excited. I mean, yeah, like you said, the rebuild is a long process. Like we saw it once with Chiano, and then 2006 happened, and then they got on a good trajectory, and they started winning bowl games. And from there, like it took a while, but they're definitely on the right track. They're definitely doing it again, and
Yeah.
maybe even for the better. So I mean, yeah, no, Rutgers football, college football in general is like a really beautiful thing, and I feel like it's gonna be a really great season to watch in the fall. But in the meantime, we still got a lot of summer left. Still like 1.5 months now, I guess. But we got the Olympics coming up, like I said. So yeah, probably next episode, maybe we could preview that or something like that. I have no clue, but I feel like that'd be a really fun. It's gonna be a fun time. I feel like that could be a good episode. But we'll definitely talk about that and talk about baseball more and and then maybe start previewing football again. I mean, we last summer we did whole series on like going through the divisions. Like, I don't know if we're going to go that detail, but definitely going to start thinking about college football, the NFL, start previewing. I'm really excited to like get back into that. But in the meantime, this has been another episode of Sports Vibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Matt Mangam, and as always, we'll see you next week.